Good evening and welcome to the December 18th, 2019 legislative session of the Penfield Town Board and the last official town board meeting for 2019, which is hard to believe. I'll ask that everyone please rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I'd ask our clerk to please call the roll.
Cole. Here. LaFountain.
Here.
Metzler. Here. Moore.
Here.
Quinn.
Here.
All right, we'll move on to communications and announcements, and I will recognize Councilman Rob Quinn to start.
Good evening. Nearly 10 years ago, I stood at this podium and introduced myself as your newest town councilman. I was proud and humbled to undertake the awesome responsibility that was before me. When I first ran for office, I asked you to place your faith in my ability to represent you, and I have been most honored to serve as your representative these last 10 years. Yet tonight I stand here at the beginning of my last town board meeting to thank you. To thank you for your faith and vote of confidence. I will always be proud and humbled by the opportunity you have given me. Earlier this year, I made a decision not to seek re-election. Certainly, this wasn't a decision that came easily. The decision to run for office is not an overnight decision, and neither is the decision not to run for office. May is 12, and this is pretty much all she's ever known. Robert is 8, and Lincoln is 4, and it's all they have known. They have shared their father with the town of Penfield all their lives. Their lives are moving faster and they are busier than ever, and it was important to me that I spend more time with them. I've been involved with campaigns and public service since I was 19. It's also all Michelle and I have ever known, and again, it was time to step aside. I want to thank my parents who are here tonight for their love and encouragement, and most especially, I want to thank my wife, Michelle. One doesn't seek elected office without the love and support of those at home, and Michelle has been behind me the whole time as a calming influence and as my most vocal advocate. I want to thank town staff for their commitment and assistance. I've enjoyed working with each of you these last 10 years, and I truly value your friendship. There are 117 employees in the town of Penfield, and together they form the backbone of our community. It is impossible to list the myriad of roles and responsibilities each of you perform. It's admirable the number of hours you spend away from your families in the evenings or on the weekends to ensure that town events and activities are successful. And most importantly, it's comforting to know that your first duty is to our residents. Public service can be challenging, stressful, and at times thankless. Yet you work hard day after day on behalf of the residents and on behalf of the town board, and I am forever grateful. I want to thank Tony, Linda, Andy, and Paula, 4 mentors and partners. They are also 4 of the most dedicated public officials I've ever met, and I'm so fortunate to have served with them. In everything we did, I believe that we were transparent, thorough, and impartial. We didn't agree on every matter, yet we discussed our differences in an open forum. Whether it was at the table during a work session or at the dais during a legislative session, all comments were heard and all views were respected. In the end, our collective discourse only benefited the community since our priority is always Penfield. Abraham Lincoln once stated that the legitimate object of government is to do for a community of people whatever they need to have done, but cannot do at all or cannot so well do for themselves in their separate and individual capacities. And I've strived to serve in this vein. I encourage future town boards to serve like-minded. As I take my leave, I want to thank you again for the awesome responsibility you have given me. We accomplished great things for our community working together as residents, staff, and elected officials. I cannot be more excited for the future of our town. Thank you.
Councilman Quinn, thank you. Thank you. We'll continue on with communications and announcements, and I'll recognize our town clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. The Hanukkah holiday begins at sundown on Sunday, December 22nd, this Sunday, and will continue for 8 days through Sunday, December 30th. In celebration of Hanukkah, the town's 6th annual outdoor menorah lighting ceremony will take place Thursday, December 26th at 5:30 p.m. at the Four Corners of Penfield and Shuffleburger Park. This event is open to the entire community. Donuts and potato latkes will be served to all who attend. Also, just another reminder that the town and county tax bills will be mailed on Tuesday, December 31st, 2019. Those that wish to pay it on that day can do so at the Town Hall Tax Office. If you would like to have your tax bill sent to a temporary winter address, please call the tax office at 340-8626. And I'd like to wish everyone a happy holiday, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, and a Happy New Year.
Thank you. Mr. Quinn.
Thank you, Tony. The town of Penfield will again host a special Christmas time blood drive in memory of Jack Heiligman on Friday, December 20th at the Penfield Community Center from 12 p.m. to 6 p.m. Each presenting donor will receive a free long-sleeve Red Cross t-shirt while supplies last. Also, for anyone who does a platelet donation for the first time, they will receive a $20 Amazon gift card. To schedule a donation appointment to help save a life during an emergency, please contact 1-800-RED-CROSS or visit redcrossblood.org. Walk-ins are also welcome. Thank you.
All right, Councilwoman Metzler.
I have one announcement this evening. The Monroe County Sheriff's Department Zone A would like to remind our residents about an increase in vehicle break-ins this time of the year. Here are some tips to help you and your family stay safe this time. Make sure your vehicle is always locked and do not leave gifts or valuables in your car overnight. Be aware of your surroundings, park in a lit area, have your cell phone in hand, and stash your purse, wallet, or valuables in your trunk before you arrive at your destination. That's all I have for this evening.
Right, thank you. I have two announcements. First, the town offices will be closed Wednesday, the 25th, for the Christmas holiday, and Wednesday, January 1st, for the New Year's holiday. The Penfield Library offices will be closed Tuesday, the 24th through Thursday, the 26th, and reopen on Friday, the 7th. My second announcement is recently I put out a supervisor info line requesting any interested parties that might have an interest to run for town board, to be appointed for the town board and then run for town board. That also is on social media. I want to announce it this evening as well. And that opening is as a result of this wonderful person to my right, your left, Paula Metzler, who has been with this board since September of 2009, and had an opportunity to get to know Paula, work with Paula, and I will tell you that she was a real asset to this board, as was Councilman Quinn. However, we will see her again after the new year, and she will be one of our two town justices, and we look forward to that appointment and swearing in a ceremony right after the new year. So again, anyone interested in town board, you can send resumes into supervisor@penfield.org. Please do that by Monday, the 23rd of December by 5 p.m. Thank you. Mr. Moore.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. The Penfield Recreation Winter and Spring 2020 program brochure is now available at penfieldrec.org. Be sure to check out all the new programs that will be offered over the next few months, with registration beginning January 2nd for Penfield residents. Early registration will be available for programs of high community interest, so don't miss out and go to penfieldrec.org to sign up. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman.
I do not have any announcements before me tonight. I want to wish everybody happy holidays, and I want to thank Rob Quinn and Paula Metzler for their years of service, and I've enjoyed working with them, and I shall miss them.
Great. Excellent. Thank you. We'll move on to public participation. Has anyone signed up to address the board on any matter? I'll ask our clerk.
No, they have not.
Okay, thank you. You can do that one of three ways. If you're in the audience, you can address the board here at the podium. You can call in at 340-8771. You can log on at penfield.org. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to address the board on any matter? All right, seeing none, there is another opportunity at the end of the agenda. We'll move on to additions and deletions. I'll recognize Councilman Moore.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. I'd like to make two additions to tonight's agenda. First addition is Resolution 19T-21, Appointment of Town Tax Receiver. And the second addition for consideration would be Resolution 19T-22, Authorization to demolish and award contract for demolition and removal of 124 Beacon Hills Drive South. Thank you.
I second the additions to the agenda.
Thank you very much. They will be under a new business. We'll move on to approval of our minutes. We have the November 20th, 2019 minutes before us, and would entertain a motion of approval for those minutes.
I move that the minutes of November 20th be approved.
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded. Discussion. No discussion. Roll call vote, please.
Cole.
Aye.
LaFountain.
Aye.
Metzler. Aye. Moore.
Aye.
Quinn.
Aye.
5 ayes.
Thank you. Petitions. Since our last meeting, our last get-together, has the board, town attorney, or town clerk received any petitions? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to resolution by function. We'll start with law and finance, please.
Granting approval of a conditional use permit to allow 2 seasonal tents over the outdoor dining area at K2 Brewery located at 1221 Empire Boulevard.
Moved.
Second.
Whereas an application has been received by the Penfield Town Board for the issuance of a conditional use permit pursuant to Chapter 250-5.9.b-1 of the Code to allow for 2 seasonal tents over the outdoor dining at K2 Brewery at 1221 Empire Boulevard. Now, whereas the Town Board of the Town of Penfield held a public hearing at the Penfield Town Hall on December 4th, 2019 at 7 p.m. Now therefore be it resolved that the applicant's request to allow for 2 seasonal tents over outdoor dining areas at K2 Brewery at 1221 Empire Boulevard is granted, subject to the following conditions. For the record, Mr. Supervisor, there are 9 conditions of interest. This is consistent with the LaSalle's Landing zoning district. I just would like to point out that one of the conditions, number 3, speaks to the tents must be inspected and approved by the Penfield Town Marshal each time they are put up to ensure that they comply with New York State International Building Code standards. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll let the minutes reflect that's the Penfield Fire Marshal.
Fire Marshal, thanks.
All right,
Yep.
very good. Thank you. Discussion. See no discussion. Roll call vote, please.
Cole.
Aye.
LaFountain.
Aye.
Metzler. Aye. Moore.
Aye.
Quinn.
Aye.
5 ayes. Setting a public hearing to consider issuance of a conditional use permit to allow a hair salon at 1738 Penfield Road.
Moved.
Second.
Whereas an application has been received by the Penfield Town Board for the issuance of a conditional use permit pursuant to 250.5-10-D4 of the Code to allow a hair salon at 1738 Penfield Road in the Four Corners zoning district. Be it further resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Penfield shall hold a public hearing at the Penfield Town Hall on January 15th, 2020, at 7 p.m. on said date to consider this application. Thank you.
So, Mr. Moore and Board, it has recently come to our attention that the applicant has requested that this matter be withdrawn at this time. So we'll let the minutes reflect that there will be no need for a vote on this resolution and withdrawn, and at some point, if and when they want to come back, they'll make a new application.
Sure.
All right. Thank you. We'll continue on with Resolution 214.
Authorization to attend the New York State Association of Towns Conference.
Moved.
Second.
Whereas the New York State Education Department requires all professional engineers to obtain annual training. Whereas it is in the town's best interest to have staff members attend training workshops to gain knowledge pertaining to current practices in stormwater management, administrative management, street maintenance, traffic operations, and construction management. Be it therefore resolved that the town engineer is hereby authorized to attend the New York State Association of Towns held on February 16th through 19th, 2020, at a cost not to exceed $1,800. This cost will be allocated to the 2020 Department Conference budget line. Thank you.
Thank you. Discussion. Seeing no further discussion, roll call vote, please.
Cole.
Aye.
LaFountain.
Aye.
Metzler.
Aye.
Moore.
Aye.
Quinn.
Aye.
5 ayes. Approval of issuance of a special use permit and preliminary and final site plan approval to allow a 95-unit apartment building at 1384 Empire Boulevard.
Moved.
Second.
Whereas an application has been received by the Penfield Town Board for the issuance of a special use permit, preliminary and final site plan approval pursuant to Chapter 250-5.9-B1 and B of the code to allow for the development of a 95-unit apartment building and associated parking and stormwater management facilities at 1384 Empire Boulevard in the LaSalle Landing zoning district. Whereas the Town Board of the Town of Penfield held a public hearing at the Penfield Town Hall on August 7, 2019, at 7 p.m. on said date to consider the application and to hear all persons interested in the question of the issuance of this special use permit and preliminary and final site plan approval. Now therefore be it resolved that the Town Board, acting as lead agency pursuant to the State Environmental Quality Review Act, known as SEQR, and Penfield Environmental Quality Review Act, has classified this proposal as an unlisted action. The board bases its decision to approve in its determination of environmental non-significance on the following findings. For the record, Mr. Supervisor, there are roughly 7 of those findings. And then further on in the resolution, it says, and to be further resolved that the applicant's request for a special use permit to allow the apartment building at 1384 Empire Boulevard is granted subject to the following conditions. There are roughly 25 of those conditions mentioned in this referral that are consistent with the LaSalle Landing zoning district. That's all. Thank you, Mr. Supervisor.
Great, thank you. I'd ask, is there any questions or comments from the board?
Is there supposed to be any mention of the offer of dedication or offer to the formula, change in the language that was discussed?
Okay,
And
I would,
condition number 4?
I would certainly recognize Mr. Costello on this item for an update for the board. And this is, would be on item 4 as it relates to a dedicated fund for Middle Turning Lane on Empire Boulevard.
Yes, Mr. Supervisor. Jim Costello, Town of Penfield. As Mr. Horowitz is reminding us, on that condition, initially I'd put in wording to the effect that the applicants had offered to submit funding to help support the development of that middle turn lane. I think it's important that it's identified as an offering rather than a condition for a couple of reasons. It was both identified at the work session as an offering, and again, following discussions after that. So if that wording can be modified to reflect that, and I know Mr. Horowitz has some recommended wording that we discussed last week, maybe to get to that point. And then secondly, I did notice there was a typographical error in the wording that Mr. Moore had presented, in that it referred to the old Penfield Environmental Quality Review Act, and that is no longer in effect, so that should probably be stricken from the resolution as well.
All right, thank you.
And Jim, what number was that?
I think it's
recall?
number 4. Is it? Yeah.
Also number 4, okay.
And then with the environmental quality review is in the heading, I believe. Is
Oh, that's what I wanted to know. Okay, in the
Okay.
heading.
Thank you, Mr. Costello. I'd ask Mr. Moore if you would be willing to move that amendment to the resolution.
Yes, I will move the amendment to strike out Penfield Environmental Quality Review Law.
I second that.
And then before we get too ahead with the second, and the second item was the wording around the offering component as well.
Yes.
Yep, and that is reflected in number 4 of the first set of conditions.
Okay? So it's, you're asking for a motion on that amendment. Do I hear a second?
A second.
Okay, seconded by the original seconder. Thank you. Discussion on that item? Okay, seeing no discussion, I'd ask for a roll call vote on the two amendments first, then we'll go to the main motion.
Cole?
Aye.
LaFountain?
Aye.
Metzler? Aye. Moore?
Aye.
Quinn?
No.
Okay, and now we will go to the main motion. Are there any further discussions to the main motion that's on the table? Okay, seeing none, again, I would ask for a roll call vote, please.
Cole?
Aye.
LaFountain?
Aye.
Metzler? Aye. Moore?
Aye.
Quinn?
No.
Okay, resolution passes 4-1. All right, we'll move on to the next resolution.
Advertising for bids for services to provide and post signs on properties subject to review by various boards in the town of Penfield.
Moved.
Second.
Be resolved that the Director of Developmental Services be and hereby is authorized to advertise in a manner prescribed by law for sealed proposals to furnish the town of Penfield with services to provide and to post property review signs on properties subject to the applications before various boards in the town for a 3-year period as particularly described in Schedule A attached. For the record, Mr. Supervisor, there are, on Schedule A, there are 4, looks like, directives for someone in placing those signs. I'll just read one of them. Contractors shall make available signs to address public hearings and public information meetings on the various boards state this property is under review by the town of Penfield. For further information, please call 340-8640 or visit penfield.org. Thank you.
Thank you. Further discussion? Call the roll, please.
Cole?
Aye.
LaFountain?
Aye.
Metzler? Aye. Moore?
Aye.
Quinn?
Aye.
5 ayes. Setting a public hearing to consider amendments to the zoning ordinance and the mixed-use development manual.
So moved.
Second, whereas the Penfield Town Board desires to amend sections of Chapter 250 of the Penfield Code and a section of the Mixed-Use Development Manual. Whereas the Town Board, acting as lead agency pursuant to the requirements of Part 617.6 of the State Environmental Quality Review Act, hereby declares itself lead agency and determines this matter to be an unlisted action. Now therefore be it resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Penfield will hold a public hearing at the Penfield Town Hall on January 15th, 2020 at 7 p.m. on said date to consider said matter and to hear all persons on the question of amending Chapter 250 of the Penfield Code and Mixed-Use Development Manual as particularly described in Schedule A attached as a part of this resolution. Thank you.
Thank you. Further discussion? Seeing no further discussion, roll call vote, please.
Cole?
No.
LaFountain?
No.
Metzler? Aye. Moore?
Aye.
Quinn?
Aye.
3 ayes, 2 noes. (2019) budget transfers and amendments.
Moved.
Second.
Whereas transfers of funds are necessary for anticipated expenditures and reconciliation as the year end approaches. Whereas the Recreation Department collects donations for Brighton Penfield Rideshare Program operation to be used for supplies. Whereas the Town Board desires to have an up-to-date budget in relation to current income and expenditures. Now be it resolved that attached budget transfers be approved. For the record, Mr. Supervisor, there are multiple different transfers for the amount of about $35,164. Some of this is office supplies, software, PCTV overtime for special events, videographer, maintenance for video equipment, books and subscriptions, and so forth. Budget amendments under revenue for programs for aging donations, and appropriations for recreation administration supplies in the amount of $350. Thank you.
Right, thank you. Further discussion? Seeing no further discussion, roll call vote, please.
Cole?
Aye.
LaFountain?
Aye.
Metzler?
Aye.
Moore?
Aye.
Quinn?
Aye.
5 ayes. Advertising for bids for printing program brochure.
So moved.
Second.
The Director of Recreation is authorized to advertise in the manner prescribed by law for sealed proposals to furnish the town of Penfield with the printing of the Recreation Department seasonal program brochure. The service is covered by such sealed proposals in accordance with specifications prepared by the Director of Recreation. Sealed proposals are to be submitted to the office of the town clerk until 11 a.m. January 10th, 2020, and then and there be opened and read publicly.
Thank you. Discussion. Seeing no discussion, roll call vote, please.
Cole?
Aye.
LaFountain?
Aye.
Metzler?
Aye.
Moore?
Aye.
Quinn?
Aye.
5 ayes. Authorization for supervisor to sign recreation contracts.
So moved.
Second.
This resolution authorizes the town supervisor to sign 13 recreation contracts, and they're all dealing with the different programs that you can find in your new recreation program brochure for the early winter and spring programs.
Hopefully, most of them spring.
Yes.
All right. Further discussion by the board. Seeing no further discussion, roll call vote, please.
Cole?
Aye.
LaFountain?
Aye.
Metzler?
Aye.
Moore?
Aye.
Quinn?
Aye.
5 ayes.
Okay, this brings us down to old business. Is there any old business to come before the board this evening? Seeing none, this brings us to new business, and we do have 2 resolutions, and I'll ask our clerk to please read the first new business item.
Appointment of town tax receiver.
Moved.
Second.
Be it resolved that the town board of the town of Penfield hereby appoints Christina Lizak as town tax receiver to fill the term that expires on December 31st, 2019.
Right, thank you. Discussion. I will just like to recognize Christina started with us here 2 days ago. She's replacing a long-term tax receiver that we had that has retired and moved to some warmer climate. Good for her. And we look forward to working with Chris and as she tackles the first upcoming town-county taxes that will be out here at the end of the year. So we look forward to working with her. She brings a lot of experience to the table and will fit in great with our team here at Penfield. Seeing no further discussion, I'd ask for a roll call vote, please.
Cole?
Aye.
LaFountain?
Aye.
Metzler?
Aye.
Moore?
Aye.
Quinn?
Aye.
5 ayes. Authorization to demolish and award a contract for demolition and removal of 124 Beacon Hills Drive South.
Moved.
Second.
Whereas on September 25th, 2019, the Penfield Town Board passed Resolution 19T-187 pursuant to Chapter 97 of the Town Code of the Town of Penfield, ordering demolition of an unsafe structure and setting a hearing for the structure located at 124 Beacon Hills Drive South. Whereas the resolution required demolition to commence within 30 days of service of notice required to be served, posted, and filed in accordance to Chapter 97 of the Town Code of the Town of Penfield, and such demolition work to be completed within 60 days thereafter. Whereas the notice and the resolution were duly served, posted, and filed as required by Chapter 97 of the Town Code of the Town of Penfield. And whereas on December 4th, 2019, the Penfield Town Board held a public hearing with respect to the unsafe structure at 124 Beacon Hills Drive South. Whereas sealed proposals were requested to provide building demolition services for the removal and cleanup of the site at 124 Beacon Hill Drive South, and the town board has declared the structure to be hazardous and a threat to public safety in the present condition. There's also multiple other whereases that kind of give the chronology of where we are today on this. Mr. Supervisor, I would just like to add, now therefore be it resolved that the Penfield Town Board awards the bid to Federico Demolition at 1005 Chile Avenue, Suite 2, Rochester, New York, 14611. Be it further resolved that the demolition begin after January 1st, 2020, and that the funds for said work are budgeted for the 2020 adopted budget. Thank you.
Thank you. Discussion. This has been a long time coming. This particular property has been in disrepair for more than 4 years. I'd like to recognize our town staff, led by Heidi Bale and her team, our fire marshal, and the work by our town attorneys. We do not take this lightly when we're ordering the demolition of a home. And this is something we hope we don't have to do very often again. I hope as long as I'm supervisor, I don't have to cross this path again. However, this has been long overdue for the neighborhood and the residents in that area. And Heidi, thank you for helping us lead the town through this overall process. Thank you. Further discussion? Seeing none, I'd ask for a roll call vote, please.
Cole.
Aye.
LaFountain.
Aye.
Metzler.
Aye.
Moore.
Aye.
Quinn.
Aye.
5 ayes.
Okay, this brings us to our second public participation. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to address the board on any matter? Mr. Costello, Development Services.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. I just want to take a moment to, as a resident of the town and as a town employee, to thank both Paula and Rob for their time on the board. You were great to work with. I know how many hours you put into it, and projects that we worked on together were phenomenal. You were great stewards to the town in your positions, and I'm sure, Paula, you will continue to do that. Rob, I wish you all the best in your future, and I don't blame you for spending more time with your family. It's a short time to do that, and you should take every moment to do it. So thank you again for your help.
Thanks, Jim.
Appreciate it. Right.
Mr. Costello, very nice, thank you. And I'm sure you passed those comments on behalf of the staff of the town. Great. All right, that leads me into something that I did receive on the public participation web. And the comment is, and we'll let the appropriate people figure this out, we're proud of our son-in-law when he became a member of your board those many years ago, and even more proud of him now. The town of Penfield has been, and I am sure will be, a top priority in his life. Nancy and I both send much love to him, and while we don't live in Penfield, appreciate all he has done. That's from Bill and Nancy.
Wonderful, thank you.
Absolutely, absolutely, very nice. Okay, seeing no further business to come before the town board, this December 18th, 2019 legislative session of the board will stand adjourned at 7:38 p.m. Thank you to everyone that participated. Special thank you to Councilman Quinn and Councilwoman Metzler for all of their service to Penfield. Happy holidays to everyone. Merry Christmas. Thank you, Penfield TV. Have a great evening.